The Dream Giver. The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson. Today is Saturday, March 4th, 2017. I am Jeffrey W. Jansen. Chapter 6. Ordinary reaches the Valley of the Giants. Period. Hey everybody, this is The Dream Giver by Bruce Wilkinson, Chapter 6. Ordinary reaches the Valley of the Giants. We are on Chapter 6. Ordinary reaches the Valley of the Giants. Remember, God has just asked Ordinary to give back his dream. Ordinary had the choice to give it back or to keep it. He chose to give it back. And in turn, God has rewarded it. The Dream Giver has rewarded him. I just got done reading the prayer of Jabez, so I got to get back on track here. In the morning, Ordinary entered a broad valley that seemed to lead up to the land of promise. But soon he came upon a sign that read, "Beware, dreamer, Valley of the Giants." Ordinary stared at the sign. So the returning dreamers were right. Giants were real. What should he do? He had no weapons. He had no plan. But his big dream was bigger than ever. And he trusted the Dream Giver. So he decided to press on. Ordinary hadn't gone far when he heard giant footsteps. He hurried to hide behind a bush. He was not yet ready to face a giant. But when Ordinary peered around a leaf, he didn't see a giant obstacle, but a mighty being. "Hail, brave warrior," the being called out. "Who, me?" Ordinary asked in a small voice. "Yes, you behind that bush." "I'm no warrior," mumbled Ordinary, stepping out from behind the bush. He never felt so foolish. "I'm a nobody from the land of familiar," he said. "Every nobody who comes as far as a warrior," said the being. "I'm the commander. The Dream Giver sent me to help you defeat your giants." "He did? I do need help," said Ordinary. "Compared to a giant, I'm small and weak." "Don't be afraid of any giant, Ordinary," said the commander. "They're real. They're enormous. They block the path to your dream. But if you believe in the Dream Giver and you're willing to take a big risk, you will get past them." "But I have no weapons or armor," exclaimed Ordinary. Then the commander helped Ordinary see how the Dream Giver had been preparing him for battle since the day he left familiar. "All the truths you've learned on your journey so far will serve as your weapons and armor," he said. "But how will I know what to do?" asked Ordinary. "The Dream Giver will tell you, and he'll give you his power if you ask for it." Ordinary felt reassured, but he still didn't feel like a warrior. "Beware of unbelief, Ordinary," said the commander. "Unbelief is much more dangerous to your dream than any giant." And then the commander was gone. Ordinary hadn't gone far up the valley when he met his first giant. It was enormous, all right, and it completely blocked the path to his dream. When it noticed Ordinary, the giant yawned in his direction. "Where do you think you're going, little nobody?" Ordinary recognized the giant towering over him. It was Moneyless. "I need to get past," said Ordinary. "Sure you do. Everybody does," the giant said. Ordinary tried to think of a plan, but none came to mind. "So I need you to get out of my way," he said. "I'm not moving," said the giant. "I guess you'll have to move me yourself." For a moment, Ordinary hesitated. Then he cried out, "Dream Giver, help me. Please give me your power." And the Dream Giver did. Then he told Ordinary what to do and what to say. Ordinary looked up at the giant, called Moneyless, and shouted, "I challenge you in the name of the Dream Giver. Then he attacked the giant with all his weapons and armor. At first, the giant didn't move, but Ordinary kept reaching for the truths he had learned. He took courage. He believed that the Dream Giver would provide. He relied on wisdom. He fought on. He endured. And with every advance, he felt the Dream Giver's pleasure. Finally, the day came when Moneyless did retreat. Ordinary's cry of victory rang through the valley. Great and good is the Dream Giver, he cried. After that victory, Ordinary never doubted again that he was warrior. As Ordinary traveled up the valley, he met more giants. Some, like Moneyless, were obstacles that had to get around. Some, like Corruption, opposed his dream and fought him fiercely. Some, like Rejection, attacked him personally and left him deeply wounded. But Ordinary met other dreamers too. During seasons of rest, they gathered to tell stories about the Dream Giver and encourage each other. From other dreamers, Ordinary learned to see a bigger picture. Every giant was another opportunity for the Dream Giver to receive honor. Higher and higher, Ordinary moved up the valley, battling giants on the way to his dream. One day, Ordinary came across a wounded warrior lying on a quiet hill. Ordinary dropped down by her side. How can I help you? He asked. My wounds are too many and great, she said. This will be my dying place. Ordinary's heart broke. But why would the Dream Giver let you be defeated? Ordinary asked. You've come so far. You have to finish your big dream. She had no reply. Night fell. The wounded warrior grew weaker. Finally, in the darkness, she said, Tell me the name of your dream. After Ordinary did, the warrior was quiet for a time. Then she spoke. That is the name of my dream also, she said. I fought giants ahead of you. You will fight more after me. But we have the same big dream. In the first light of dawn, she spoke for the last time. Death is not my defeat, she whispered. It is my victory. That morning, Ordinary buried his warrior friend on the hilltop. Then he sat for a long time, looking across the hills and valleys. He thought about the warrior's life and about her death. He thought about her dying words. And he became certain that he would not have gotten this far on the path to his dream if his friend had not gone before him. Finally, Ordinary took his long white feather and wrote the truth on her headstone. Here lies a mighty warrior. She finished her dream. Soon after leaving the hill, Ordinary began to sense that he was almost to the Valley of Giants. He was getting close to the place where he could do what he wanted to do most, and he walked faster in anticipation. Then one day, just as he caught a glimpse of the high country ahead, he stumbled upon a small camp of raged antibodies. Ordinary had never met anybody's, but he'd heard of them. They were a lot like nobodies. The anybody's told him where they were from, the city of anybody's that lay just ahead. A giant of darkness oppressed the city from his stronghold at the gates. No anybody could leave or enter. It had been that way for so long that no anybody could remember how long it had been that way. When Ordinary asked about the Dream Giver, the anybody's just shook their heads. Few believed in him. Other warriors had mentioned his name. They said, but they had passed by without challenging their giant. Should he pass by too? He couldn't wait to find his big dream. Then Ordinary heard the Dream Giver's voice. He said, Prepare for battle. Word spread quickly through the camp. The warrior named Ordinary was about to challenge the giant of darkness in the name of the Dream Giver. Anybody's crowded around the giant's stronghold to watch. Ordinary walked up to the gate and cried, Giant of darkness, in the name of the Dream Giver, I come to defeat you. I proclaim deliverance for every anybody in the camp and every anybody in the city. When the giant burst out of his stronghold, the anybody's gasped. None of these anybody's will ever be free, the giant roared. Their lives are worthless. Their hopes are lies. Then he attacked with the heaviest chains of darkness that Ordinary had ever seen. Ordinary fought courageously. He fought with the Dream Giver's power, and he used every weapon and piece of armor he had. All day, the sound of warfare crashed through the valley. But by mid-afternoon, anybody could see that Ordinary was growing weaker, while the giant was strong as ever. Ordinary retreated to the edge of the field and cried out to the Dream Giver, "Are you with me?" "Yes," the Dream Giver said. "This giant is too strong for me," gasped Ordinary. "Yes, it is." "A victory will take a miracle," said Ordinary. "Yes, it will." "So what should I do?" "Prepare for a miracle," said the Dream Giver. "Lay down your weapons. Take only your feather, and you will bring me great honor." Leave his weapons? Unbelief swept through Ordinary's heart. What the Dream Giver asked was impossible. Then Ordinary remembered. He remembered surrendering his dream and getting it back even bigger and better than before. He remembered the Dream Giver's goodness in the wasteland, even when he was nowhere in sight. He remembered the dying warrior's victory. And he remembered his big dream. And that's when Ordinary turned away from unbelief and decided to take a big risk for the Dream Giver. He put down his weapon. Anybody groaned in disappointment. Then Ordinary picked up his knapsack and pulled out his feather and walked toward the giant. The anybody's gasped in disbelief, but the giant only laughed. "Are you going to knock me over with a feather?" it roared. Ordinary wasn't sure what to do or say until the giant of darkness towered over him. Then the Dream Giver told him just what to do. He raised his long white feather high above his head, and as he did, it grew heavy in his hand, as heavy as a sword. "If the Dream Giver is for me," Ordinary shouted, "what giant can stand against me?" Then he swung the feather in a mighty arc right across the giant's evil heart. And when he swung, an amazing thing happened. Chains scattered in pieces. Darkness fled. And the giant collapsed in a heap, defeated at Ordinary's feet. The anybody's knew a miracle when they saw one. Soon a noisy, happy procession led Ordinary past the defeated giant, around his dark stronghold, and up to the gates of their city. With every step, the joyful anybody's sang praise. But the praise were not for Ordinary. "The Dream Giver is good," they sang. "The Dream Giver is strong. Victory belongs to the Dream Giver." For the first time that anybody could remember, they were free. Sitting by the warrior's grave, Ordinary took his feather and wrote the truth about the Valley of Giants. "I met a friend who shared my dream and helped me make it happen. Before I met my first giant, I met the commander. He told me that I am a warrior. He showed me that my weapons are every truth I've learned on my journey. Unbelief is dangerous so far. I have chosen to believe, but it feels risky every time. Even though I have been prepared to face my giants, I still need the Dream Giver's powers. Every time I defeat a giant, the Dream Giver receives honor. Giants, beware." That leads us to Chapter 7. So tomorrow I'll read Chapter 7. Chapter 7 is titled Ordinary Thieves in the Land of Promise. Alright, everybody, thank you very much. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to come back on. We will have a quick daily reflections tonight, and then my daughter's going to read The Dream Giver for Teens. I hope everybody is having a great night tonight. God bless. I'll talk to everybody during daily reflections. I do have my daughter here tonight, so we're going to do it with my daughter, and I'll talk to everybody soon. So I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to go live again with daily reflections.